You've done everything right so far. You saved up for your down payment, you got pre-approved, you worked with your realtor, and now that offer that you guys wrote has been accepted. So it feels like all the hard work is now done. But this isn't the time to get too comfortable, because this next step can either make or break that deal that you've just put together. Because we still have the second approval, and if this one doesn't go through, that deal that you've been working so hard for could fall apart. And in my experience, most people don't talk about this step either. For some reason, it feels forbidden, and therefore most buyers have no idea how much can still go wrong here. Offer is accepted, and how to make sure your mortgage follows through for you. Hey guys, my name is Ben. I'm a mortgage broker in BC, and this video is part 5 of my first-time homebuyer series. In the last episode, we talked about the contracts that you use, and so what you're actually signing when you make an offer. But now we're on to the next step, which is your final approval. This part most people don't even think of. They think that they're solid, they're good to go, they got pre-approved. But unfortunately, the truth is you're not done until your lender gives you this official next green light. So let me walk you through what happens behind the scenes and how to avoid all the stuff that could kill your deal in the very last minute. And hey, just as a reminder, if this video does help you or you've been following along my channel or the series, do me a favor and subscribe. It helps by telling YouTube the content is worth showing to other people, other first-time homebuyers, and it helps me keep making more of this content for you guys. Okay, so what is this final approval? It's basically where the lender says, okay, we've seen your offer, we've seen the property, we've got your updated, most recent paperwork, and based on all that, we're in and we're committed to funding this deal. Up until this point, your pre-approval typically is just based on a quick snapshot, maybe a rough estimate of your income, credit, and maybe a few of your documents. But now this final approval, now the lender is committing to lending you potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the lender is going to make sure that everything fits. They have everything they need to hand that money over. I've said this before, but the second your offer is accepted, things start moving quickly. Here's what your lender and your mortgage broker are going to be reviewing. First is your income. Even if you sent pay stubs a few weeks ago, they'll want fresh ones. Sometimes they may ask for a new job letter. They need to make sure that nothing has changed. Then they want to look at your credit. Some lenders do a second credit pull to make sure that you haven't racked up any new debt. Then they're going to look at the property, and this is a big one. Your lender needs to approve the home itself, the one that you've chosen. In most cases, they'll usually order or request an appraisal, and if that number comes in low, you as the buyer or the borrower might have to cover the difference. If you are buying a condo or a townhome, the lender will want to see the Strata documents, the insurance certificate, and in most cases, the building's financials. This is where a lot of deals can fall apart, and honestly, it's not always the buyer's fault. Sometimes a lender doesn't like the property, sometimes the appraisal can come in undervalued, sometimes there's an issue with the paperwork that nobody caught earlier. And in most cases, which happened to me as a buyer, the buyer does something dumb. That might be financing a truck, financing a car, or opening up a new credit card before closing. You can be fully pre-approved, but if one thing slips through the cracks, we can lose this deal. This is why this part of this process matters so much. This is the part where a mortgage broker needs to stay locked in together with you, because the paperwork now matters more than ever. Okay, once everything does check out, your lender will issue something called a commitment letter. It's basically the offer from the lender saying, here's your mortgage, here's the rate, here's the amount we're going to give you, the amortization, and the conditions that you as the borrower have to meet. But it's not legally binding yet. It does mean that your lender is telling you that if you do these last few things, that they will be funding your mortgage. So as your mortgage broker, we would go through it all together. We'd make sure that the rate is right, make sure that there are no surprises in any of the conditions, and once you sign it, that's what triggers the lawyer instructions, which is how the mortgage actually gets set up. If you're working with a mortgage broker or not, this is what I would be doing during this stage. First, I'm going to be chasing the appraisal, getting it ordered, getting it booked, and most importantly, making sure that the lender sees it on time. Then collecting and reviewing and updating a lot of the documents, things like pay stubs, bank statements, anything that could expire or could hold things up. One of the most important things a mortgage broker can do for you is make sure they go through the lender conditions one by one, making sure we haven't missed anything, maybe a weird clause or a last-minute request from the lender. I'm also flagging anything that could delay us, anything that could mess with our approval, mess with our closing date, or just cause us both unnecessary stress. And finally, I'm making sure that nothing dumb happens right before you're supposed to get the keys to your home. So I'm going to be protecting your approval. This is a pretty interesting stage because this is where deals come together really smoothly or they can fall apart. And therefore, it's important to have a mortgage broker who actually gives a damn. That'll make a huge difference for you in this entire process. Once your offer is accepted, your job as the buyer, as the borrower, is pretty simple. You want to keep things boring. When I say boring, what I mean is you don't want to quit your job, don't switch careers, or if you have a drive to go self-employed, just wait until this deal closes. This may come as a surprise or it may be obvious to some people, but don't finance anything big. Don't open up a new credit card. Don't open up a new line of credit for furniture for your new home. One of the last ones here is moving money around. Don't overcomplicate this by moving large amounts of money without talking to your mortgage broker first. This last one is the simplest, but sometimes also the hardest. All you need to do is communicate. Answer your mortgage broker quickly. Timing is a big deal in this last stage. These mortgage approvals fall apart all the time because someone made a big move before closing that they didn't know was the wrong move. So that's all you need to do. If you're boring, if you're stable, nothing's gonna happen and everything will move forward as expected. On the odd chance that something does happen to change, maybe your income changes, maybe your job changes the structure or you no longer have your job, maybe your credit takes a hit, whatever it is, the best thing that you can do is just get on the phone and call your mortgage broker, text them, email them, do whatever you need to do, because we can usually work around it. But if the lender finds out before your mortgage broker does, well, that could be a final blow to this entire deal. Okay, so how long can this whole stage take? Well, it depends, but usually we're somewhere in between 5 to 10 business days from the day your offer was accepted to the day that we can actually remove your financing condition. Which may sound like a lot of time for some people, but business days are only 5 of 7, so it's really not a lot of time. So when your mortgage broker asks you to get your documents in early to get ahead of all this, they really do mean it. This isn't the thing that you want to wait until the last minute for. The best way to think about this is your pre-approval is kind of like the ticket to the game, whereas your final approval is how you win, you're crossing the finish line. And this section, the part between offer is accepted to your financing condition being removed, well, this is where your deal either holds together nicely or it falls apart and it's kind of ugly, which is exactly why a good mortgage broker will stay hands-on with you until the day your financing gets locked in. All right, guys, well, that's it for this video for part 5. For the next video, part 6, I'll actually walk you through what happens on closing day and how to make everything stress-free, give you some tips for when you're moving in so you don't lose your mind. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you could, like this video, write me a comment or subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.